Okay, I think as we were hearing from Karan Johar this morning, the notion of not just sexuality is fluid, the notion of the family is quite fluid as well. The notion of what a family is, who parents are, what a family structure is changing. You have increasing number of single parents. Karan Johar was one. You'll hear later in the afternoon about the whole debate around using surrogate mothers, a complex conversation. But one of the interesting things that we have discovered is that actually there are any number of people who are able to find happy solutions. Not everything is dire. If there's enough respect between people, then you do actually see people being able to work things out. So I want to bring you the story of one family today. It's been chronicled in a book, and you'll hear more about that. Can I please welcome on stage Raga de Silva, Nicola Fenton, and Ravi Kambhoj. This is my idea of a modern family. Let's bring them on stage. Wonderful. Raga, can we please bring Nicola on stage as well, and Ravi? Nicola, where is Nicola? Is Nicola anywhere to be found? Is she backstage? Nicola, can we please have you on stage? And can we please have Ravi also on stage? Let's bring them all out together. Okay, this is a very, very interesting family, and I don't want to give the story away, as they say. It's all documented in Raga's book, which we'll release at the end of the session. I want to bring in the very talented Monsoon Bissell to come and have and steer this conversation. Monsoon, can we please have you on stage? Monsoon? Please put your hands together for Monsoon Bissell. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Here we are.
Here.
All right. Are you still with us? It's been a long day. You're with us. Great. It's lovely to see the different age groups in here. I am so pleased to introduce these three people who we've now become fast friends. They are a new family. And I'm going to let them talk about more about how they really define themselves. But let me tell you a little bit about them. We have Raga, who is a Mangalorean Christian. She got married to Ravi, who is a Punjabi Hindu. And they had two children, twins, who are now 21. And they moved to New Zealand. And as Raga told me, they had the fairy tale life. Dun-dun-dun. And then Raga met Nicola. And there was a transition that happened in this family where Raga and Nicola became a couple. And now these three people here have really come together to live as a new kind of unit. The children are brought up by three parents. They live in three different countries. And they're here today to tell us how all this unfolded. I'm actually going to start right away with a question, which is that this is what struck me when I read about you and your story, Raga, is that there is often love and there is acceptance. And in India, there's an amazing concept that sometimes there's a lot of love and there's not a lot of acceptance. So I know that for the three of you, that level of acceptance and love has been different over the years. Can you speak a little bit about what has happened with acceptance or non-acceptance as you've moved through this journey?
Thank you, Monsoon. I'll just make a very small correction. I was married, and my marriage was over before I met Nicola. I met Nicola much after, so that's the correction. So I didn't leave the marriage for anybody. I just left the marriage. Yeah, it was over in itself. Now, in terms of acceptance, when I did made the choice to be with a woman, it was a very difficult choice, obviously, for many reasons. And obviously, nobody accepted me, including my mother at that stage, who, if you read my book, you will see that she nearly tried to kill me that night when she found out that I was interested in being with a woman. And I understand her reaction now because, obviously 15, 16 years ago, parents of that generation didn't really understand what it was to just really love. So that was one part of it. So that was the family. There was society. I lived in New Zealand, which is a very open society, as you know. But even in New Zealand, I wasn't really accepted by my own community, the Indian community there, and I was very badly abused, very emotionally abused and physically abused at times as well. So the acceptance at that time was basically not around. It's taken 15, 16 years for me to tell my story and to be accepted. My family now accepts me, and also because I think I've finally accepted myself. And I don't live in that prison that I was living in from the abuse that I faced. So that's, I think it's changing, it's transitioning in India as well.
Thank you. And Ravi, can you speak about when this transition happened in your life? What was something that was the most challenging for you at the time?
You know, when this kind of situation happens with you, as Raga said, our marriage was already over and this transition happened. See, when you have kids, your kids are the main worry, whatever situation, the way situation changes. Okay, so our worry was that, okay, the family has now moved to something else. How kids going to react to that? How kids going to be accepting to the new reality in their life? So that's the first challenge you face, and you overcome that. You see with the person who's come into, your ex's life is equally loving the kids as you've been, and then that's where you're even you start accepting it. Yeah.
So, Nicola, I want to ask you, because this is not only, there's also a racial piece here. You're an interracial couple as well, and you were with somebody who brought two kids to the relationship. What was it like to come into that parenting role?
It was wonderful. The kids and I gelled very quickly. I met them when they were quite young. So they've adopted me as their mother. I don't think they see any different between me and Raga as a mother. And all three of us have been also very encouraging that Ravi's the father. I mean, I can't take over a father's role. Ravi's their father. I can't take over Raga's role. She's their mother. But they go to school, they used to go to school very young. Say, I've got two mothers. They went to school in India for some time. I've got two mothers.
And I'm going to throw something out there that when I was doing this panel, people asked. They said, but the very important thing is when you have children, you have a duty to children. And children take precedence over everything. So was there ever a consideration that your personal choice may, in fact, impact them in a way?
See, in hindsight, now when you look at it, you think that it is a fairy tale. It isn't a fairy tale, right? Life is not so simple. It took a long, long time for me to accept myself, as I said, and then there was a lot of practical considerations to be made. Single mom suddenly, you have to look after your children emotionally, you have to look after them financially, then you have to also look after them from a society's point of view. How will the family deal with it? How will friends deal with it? You take a lot of time considering those things. So the children were absolutely considered, but I refused to live in an environment within myself as well, where I become unhappy. I realized that when I was unhappy, my family was unhappy. And I owed it to my children to be happy so that they grew up around happiness. They knew that it was a choice. And today, I think I have, thanks to the, choices we've made, we brought up very, very beautifully balanced children to this world.
The twins, anyway.
Beautifully balanced.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to say something on that. I think if children are cared for, and it's about love. Really, at the end of the day, it's about love. Children are very adaptable. And I've met many children of parents of Indians that are in the forces here, that have travelled all over India. They've had to adapt to each state they've gone to. They've had to adapt to different schools. But at the same time, they're always loved. And they said, I've loved that life. So every child adapts. And it's not an adaptation of, I have to do this, or I have to do that. If they see your parents living their life as they want to be, they have love, they can go to bed at night and feel safe, they get food, what else is needed? Everybody lives a different life, otherwise we'd all be the same. We'd all be exactly the same.
Monsoon, can I just say this?
Please.
I always think that my children have won a lottery. They've got 3 parents to love.
Yeah, we are lucky.
And I know that you shared with me that your children changed their names. And now both your children, one has your last name, Raga, De Silva, one has your last name, Nicola, Fenton. So Ravi, I'm going to ask you the difficult question of what is it like to have your biological children become 18 and decide that they're actually not going to have their father's name?
It was uh, it was hard initially. But when I found out what the reason was, then I said it's okay. My kids thought that having a Kambhoj is not cool enough, So I said okay. So they changed. They live in a Western society. They live in UK, so they thought it'll be more accepting to have, surname like Fenton or De Silva. That's the reason they given me. But I was unhappy. I won't say that I wasn't. I was okay with it because that's the name you connect with. Yeah. So, but then you said, hey, just by changing the surname, does it mean that they're going to love me less, or I'm going to love them less? No. Then how does it matter if they have a different name? So, no, not an issue at all. Yeah.
Well, there. That's applaudable. I have to say, that's a very difficult thing to do. Now we're sitting in India, we're in an Indian audience. I wonder how it would have played out if you had all decided to remain in India when this change was happening in your lives. Would you like to speak about that?
I think India has changed quite a bit. I've been doing talks around the country, and I've been to cities where people are very accepting. My own family has accepted me, and I have family members here, and thank you very much. My own family has accepted me. It is something that I feel I have won a lottery, and I haven't stopped smiling since last Sunday. So I think it's great. If we lived in India now, I think we'll be welcomed, and we will be loved, and I think we will love everyone as they love us.
Lovely. I would like to actually, I'm sure there's some questions brimming in the audience. Does anybody have a burning desire to ask a question? Yes? Please, go ahead.
Let me start off by saying I find the family dynamics in play very interesting. It's not something I've seen earlier. Could you explain to me how you brought this onto your kids? Because to have a new parent in one's life is difficult enough without having to learn that it's a same-sex parent. So how did you broach the topic?
See, I think it's very simple, like Nicola said earlier. As long as your children feel safe and you give them a stable environment with lots of love, it doesn't really matter. They were very little. They were about 5 years old when this whole transition happened in our lives. They just grew with it. It didn't mean that they didn't have difficulties and challenges. We faced a lot of it. A mom and a dad is what was expected at school, and our family was different, so they would come back home crying at times. But just speaking with them, dealing with them with love, and telling them that it is what we said earlier, normal. This is regular stuff that happens. It's just two people loving each other. Children adapt. Now my kids can't see the difference. In fact, when we said we were on this panel, they can't understand the fuss. Really. They said, why? This is normal.
I'd like to just say something on that. As people talk a lot about sexual preference and about how can we teach young children about different sexual preferences. At the end of the day, it's about love. I don't think even straight parents talk to their 2, 3, 5, 6-year-olds about sex. It's about love. It's about love preferences, and I think we need to change the narrative about that. It's not about sex, it's about love. And when you bring your children up with love, it doesn't matter. Children are very, very not judgmental. It's all the people around them that creates the judgment.
Also, just want to add something that as a family, though we were not together, we had a very open door policy with our kids. It was not like it's your week with the kids, it's your weekend with the kid, it's your afternoon with the kids. We were very open about that. Kids had the access to both the parents at any time, though we had to work, our schedule and all that. But it was a very open policy that the kids can be with any parent whenever they want to. So that made them feel very secure, and that really worked. Yeah.
I do want to bring us back to a moment of, there has to have been challenge in this journey. Partly because you do speak about love, Nicola. There's also convention. There's love is acceptable if it comes in this particular formula. And you've changed that formula. So for people who are struggling with that, they want the love, they want to break convention. What has worked and what has not worked?
I think for me, it's very important that the first decision was to be independent financial independent. I have a lot of friends who are in similar situations, not about their preferences or orientation, but stuck in marriages that are not working, stuck in relationships that are not working, stuck in jobs that they're not happy with, or these are quite common things, right? So I think independence, the way you think, is very important. It's a choice you make. Once you make the decision, stick by it. Make sure that you have all options kept open. In my case, financial stability, I had that. I made sure that emotionally I was doing the right things. It was very important for me. In terms of practicalities, I'm a very practical person as well as creative. So I made sure that all aspects of those things were managed, and that is what we need to do.
And how did you both manage that?
I don't know. Somehow the thing just fell in place. We didn't have to make really very extra effort to make things happen. It just happened. I think we had a lot of respect for each other. Whatever decision we have taken, she's taken. Now, even at this stage, we're not together, as a couple for many years now. We still confide in each other. If I have an issue, I'm always talking to her. She's always, talking to me. So I think we're there for each other, and when that happens, thing just smoothens out.
Can I add there, Monsoon? I think what is very important, like Ravi said, love and respect, but also what is important is maturity. These things need to be managed really well, right? If two people, if we had dispute, we managed it so well, we never had our children involved in it. I never said to the kids, oh, don't talk to your father because he's being whatever. So it was okay. It didn't mean that Ravi and I didn't have problems. We had a lot of problems initially. Obviously, there would be conflict in a relationship that transitions.
Right.
But we never got the children involved in a negative manner. It was only love.
She's still very bossy, and said, hey, we're not married. Don't be bossy anymore. Yeah, she does that.
Nicola?
I'd just like to say that Raga's mother lived with us for a good 3-4 years. And she lived with both of us and the 2 children. And with that and this was in India. So this was some time ago. And I think the biggest change we had to make was that we had to just go very gently. I got on very well with her mother.
Good Indian mother-in-law. You had a
Very good Indian mother-in-law. I don't know whether I was a very good daughter-in-law. But she taught me how to cook Mangalorean curries and so on and so on, and we went to all sorts of things. But at the same time, we never discussed it in the family. I mean, she was there, the children were there, but it was not like, I guess, with Ravi, where like they were partners. She would introduce me as Raga's friend. So we sort of had to put up with that for a while. And I think, bless her soul, if she was here now, she'd be very proud of us. But it's a long transition.
It is.
It's a long transition. It's not an overnight thing.
No, and what you allude to is how we live our lives in the private and public sphere.
Correct.
So in your private sphere, she came and stayed with you and she lived with you. In the public sphere, there was no acknowledgement of your relationship.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes,
Sorry,
hi.
I don't mean to rain on your parade, but we've got lots of interesting stuff coming up. And one of the things I wanted to do is to bring out Raga's fascinating book. Can we please have the book on stage? We did say that we'd launch this fascinating story that Raga has told in a book. I'm going to ask Monsoon to do the honors along with all of us. Can we have this very wonderful modern family that has worked out the fluidity of sexuality, changing social mores, so much...
Is this for them or for me?
It's for all of us.
Oh, okay.
Let's just open the
Yes,
ribbon and launch
please.
the book.
Yeah.
Just, can you open it for me? Yes. And do please read Raga's book. I think she has told her story in a very candid and open way. And it is absolutely fascinating. That is her book, Untold Lies, and you heard a lot about that. Monsoon, can I ask you to hold it up?
Please, sure.
Let's have a big round of applause for this wonderful modern family, and thank you so much, Monsoon.
Thank you. And there's another book coming out, just so I can plug that before
Please.
it comes out. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Thank you.
Another book coming out?
Another one, Raga's written another
Oh,
book.
that was quick and prolific.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we please
Should we
ask
go-
you to, front of stage, please. Thank you so much.